Good morning to those of you who just joined us. We will be starting shortly. We're just giving a couple minutes for anyone who was looking for the Zoom link to find us, and we will be with you all soon. Hey, good morning. I gave everybody a little bit of a leeway to find their way here. Hopefully, a few more of our registrants will be able to join us, and I'm sure that we'll get them caught up as we go. Good morning and welcome to the session 3 of our school leadership gatherings to address anti-Semitism and other forms of hate. The focus of this morning's gathering is outreach to families. Now, many of you have had the opportunity to be on calls with us previously and know that the choices of these topics for this year, the school year of work, really grew out of conversations that we had with some of you and some of your colleagues about the specific things you're facing. And this one in particular, I found very interesting because we found that across our district, we have a wide range of experiences with families and communities regarding these topics, addressing anti-Semitism and other forms of hate. In some school districts, we have very involved parents, specifically very involved Jewish parents in some schools, who have a lot of background, a lot of involvement, a lot of interest in the topic. In some schools, we have families that don't have a lot of experience or possibly never learned about these topics themselves. And so we were hearing this sort of dichotomy, but the common theme was an interest in having an opportunity to engage parents in this very important work, to extend the learning from the schools, from the classrooms into the home, and to have an opportunity for students and parents to learn together in a way that will really solidify the experience and create a broader understanding of what we were trying to do. So today we're going to get to hear from 4 organizations that are going to tell us about different ways that schools and school districts could consider engaging the larger community, parents, caregivers, et cetera, in a variety of different ways. Before we get to our amazing speakers, I wanted to first make sure everyone had an opportunity to hear from, meet Elliot Forsheimer, who is the CEO of Westchester Jewish Center. I realized I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Tammy Arnowitz. I am the project consultant with Westchester Jewish Center. You have seen emails from me probably a little bit ad nauseum, but hopefully you love getting them and smile whenever you see my name come across your inbox. And I'm really so pleased to be working on this important topic and bringing all of these resource experts to you through the work we're doing together. And now to Elliot.
So I have to laugh because Tammy referenced that I'm the CEO of the Westchester Jewish Center.
Oh no.
and that she works for the Westchester Jewish Center. In fact, neither are true. It's Westchester Jewish Council, same initials. Westchester Jewish Center is a wonderful synagogue, happens to be my synagogue and Tammy's synagogue. So if you're confused, yes, that was a test, and F minus to Tammy on that one. But that is indeed the only F minus Tammy ever gets. Tammy's a wonderful colleague, and I just wanted to really thank her for putting together this coalition. Thank my colleagues for presenting, and also thank each one of you. I know how busy everybody is, and that you take an hour on Zoom to be together, and it's not taken for granted. It's noticed when we talk with other communities about how many school districts we have. We mentioned the number and the depth of participation. It is something which people are envious of. So really, thank you, thank you. I'll turn it back to Tammy.
Thank you. Thank you for the correction, my mistake. Just a heads up, we are recording this presentation. And so we just so you know, and okay, sorry. Someone was starting to come into this office. Great. So we're going to begin with our presentation with our presenters. I am so honored and pleased to first introduce Myra Clark Siegel and Ira Glasser from AJC, the American Jewish Committee. I'm not going to go into their very impressive and lengthy bios at this time. I'm trying to be conscious of all of our times. And so I am not going to be reviewing all of that. But I did send out yesterday a document that gives their information, in fact, everyone's information, their bios, along with contact information, so that when you hear things from them that you want to follow up on that might be important for your school district, this gives you an opportunity to have a way to reach them. Okay, with no further ado, Myra and Ira, I turn it over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Myra.
And I'm Ira Glasser. I'm the director of K-12 education in New York at American Jewish Committee. And Myra is the the Westchester Fairfield County regional director for AJC. Myra, first of all, Myra, do you want to share our?
Yeah, I'm going to be
PowerPoint?
screen sharing in a second. Go ahead.
Okay, so while we're getting that set up, I just want to take a moment and thank the Westchester Jewish Council for hosting this this gathering this morning, and to thank all of you again for joining us. We know that your schedules are incredibly busy, and this is certainly, as with all the rest of the year, it is particularly a busy time of year. So we thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. AJC, or American Jewish Committee, is the global advocacy organization of the Jewish people. Our agency is over 100 years old, and we work across the entire globe on a number of matters pertaining to the needs of the Jewish people. Within AGC, I work for the Center for Education Advocacy, which works particularly in and with educational spaces, ensuring that they refuse to normalize anti-Semitism in any form, are inclusive of Jews and Jewish identity, and are rooted in democratic values and civic education, including critical thinking, viewpoint diversity, and fact-based inquiry, or as I like to sometimes say, just good education. Before we get into some of our data and resources, I'm just curious if by a show of a physical or a virtual thumb, for the educational professionals in the room to give a thumbs up if you are surprised, or how many of you are surprised by the fact that we even have to have this conversation about the rise of anti-Semitism and the need to talk to parents this morning. I see a couple thumbs. Okay, so Westchester County has the 8th largest Jewish community in the United States, and that is sometimes a surprising statistic because the Jewish community in Westchester County is particularly large compared to, well, for sure, the rest of the United States. So this morning, Myra and I are going to provide an overview of some of our research and some of the resources that we provide educational spaces. We are, of course, happy to work with you and your teams to provide more in-depth trainings on both anti-Semitism and the Jewish people more broadly.
Help if my screen will switch. So again, as Ira kind of introduce the conversation, and we want to thank you all for joining us today. And for those of you who are going to be watching the recording as well, really the issue is, how do we talk to parents? How do we work with parents in our community, in our schools? And part of what we wanted to talk to you all about is the awareness of it, particularly based on the question that Ira presented to you all, and thank you for answering honestly. The issue is, in order for you to have these conversations with parents, to work with the faculty in your schools, it's important to understand what anti-Semitism is, and also how it is prevalent and how it is manifest here in the United States, and particularly also in New York and here in Westchester County. So AJC, or as American Jewish Committee, conducted, actually for the past 6 years, we have conducted the largest survey of its kind on the lived experience of the Jewish community across the United States. And for the past 5 years, we have also conducted a parallel survey, the largest of its kind, in terms of understanding and awareness of what anti-Semitism is and how people understand it to be manifest across general society. And the reason that we want to share this with you all, and again, Ira and I can go into more in-depth discussions with you all offline if you want us to come in and do any briefings or trainings with you and with your faculty, is really about understanding what it is, how it can manifest, and that way you are prepared with this awareness, with this understanding, to be engaging with your teachers and with your families. So I'm going to actually start off with the good news. Usually we do a glass half full, but in this moment, I actually want to start off with the good news. The survey that we just released on February 12th, actually, I should say also, is the only survey of its kind of the lived experience of the Jewish community in the full year since the October 7th terror attacks by Hamas on Israel. So this really provides a very broad scope of understanding, again, of the lived experiences of the Jewish community across the United States. The good news is that 88%, or nearly 9 in 10 of Americans overall, are concerned about the rise of anti-Semitism in our country. That's important because it means that the work that we are all doing collectively together to educate each other about hate and bias and hatred against the Jewish community, people are understanding what it is and they are aware of it. Now I'm going to switch to the not good news. The glass is definitely less than half full, because what we have found is a significant rise in the lived experience, again, of American Jews. Over 9 in 10, nearly 100% of American Jews believe and have experienced that anti-Semitism is a problem in the United States today. This is not the 1940s in Berlin or Paris. This is the United States, and here in New York and here in Westchester County. And fully 1 out of 3. And I have to stop here because when I looked at this data point, I had to actually read it several times, because we know what we have experienced, but to see it concretely across the country really gave me pause. 1 out of 3 American Jews over the past year reported being a personal target of anti-Semitism. We have to do better. And part of that, again, for our conversation today, is to have this understanding and have the tools and resources to be able to address this and to communicate with our students and families. So here there are a lot of data points here, but the bottom line, the meta message here is, again, American Jews do not feel safe, they do not feel secure, and they are scared. And as a result of that, nearly 6 in 10 American Jews have changed their behavior over the past year out of fear. It can be, and this has increased, by the way, over the past few years. So you can see in 2022, just under 40% of American Jews changed their behavior in some way. We are nearly almost 6 in 10 Jews now. So it is a huge spike in fear, and that means hiding a Jewish star. It means that a man who is religiously observant may hide his kippah or his yarmulke. He may wear a baseball hat, and people may not go to places where they're afraid of showing their Judaism. Ira, I'm going to turn this over to you to talk about some tools and resources.
Sure. And just before we get to some of the tools and resources, I just want to note that The data that Myra just shared is of both is of adults, so 18 and up. And when we pull out the data, specifically looking at the experience of young adults from 18 to 29, all of those numbers are higher than what is reported by the general population. And the other thing that I would note is I often think to myself, well, what does this tell us about the need or the needs in K-12 institutions? And this data is corroborated by additional studies, including a recently published one by Be Well, the Jewish Federations of North America, and Stanford University, that highlight the specific needs of Jewish adolescents and Jewish teenagers. One piece that I'd like to bring up is that on the one hand, Jewish students have both the unique pressures that arise from being Jewish, including navigating the geopolitics and the rise of anti-Semitism, as well as the universal challenges of adolescence. For example, 79% of Jewish teens report that they can be their full selves when around other Jewish teens, but that number drops significantly when they are around non-Jewish peers to 51%, even more so when they're at school to 36%, and even more from that when they participate in a club or sports team outside of school to 26%. So this data that we report is being felt and is being experienced by the Jewish students in your school districts. So one of the resources that we have available for public school administrators is an action plan on confronting anti-Semitism. Now, this and all of our other resources are both, on the one hand, broad enough that they can be implemented in a variety of school settings in a way that meets the needs of your individual school community. We know that the needs in the needs in White Plains, for example, are different than that in Yorktown, which are different from Pleasantville, which are different from New Rochelle, etc. So these can be tailored and made to meet the needs of your specific school community. And these resources, all of these resources are meant to be proactive. These resources are also meant to be coupled with communication with parents and having conversations with teachers and faculty to equip your faculty with tools and knowledge that they need in order to understand the issues that the Jewish community is facing, to be able to recognize anti-Semitism, and that for you as a school community to have a plan in place and being communicative with teachers and parents about that plan. These resources, I just want to name this, that these resources are proactive. These resources are not going to inoculate your school community against anti-Semitic incidents when they arise, but it is crucial that when those incidents take place, that one, you have a plan to respond to it, you report it, you investigate it, you enforce your school policies, and you communicate to your broader school community about it. And our resources, again, are really meant for a number of different avenues of school community, whether it be Jewish American Heritage Month later in May. If you want to do a curriculum audit, what are some of the big questions or big ideas and enduring understandings about the Jewish people that you should consider and have in mind? What is guidance about selecting speakers? Again, these are really meant to be adapted to your individual school community. The QR code has links to all of these resources and a few others that we will also make sure to share with Tammy and have available to all of you. Myra, next slide. One other example that I want to highlight is a resource that we shared at the beginning of the school year called the ABCs of Jewish Inclusion. And this is about raising awareness, ensuring communities of belonging, and communicating with your school community as students, parents, faculty, etc. And again, this is just one guideline or one sample of our resource that can be adapted to meet the needs of your individual school district and school community.
So one of the things that Ira mentioned also is Jewish American Heritage Month. And I think that it's really important that not only can we provide you all, and is it important to have information to ascertain what might be hateful, and there is certainly a difference between an incident and a hate crime. Of course, there is a higher threshold in terms of a hate crime, but there are enough hate incidents and situations that arise, anything from an international day that you want to be prepared for in advance and understand how to approach it, to being proactive, because one of the things that we all, as professionals in the community here, want to help you all do, obviously, is to be proactive with your parents, with your faculty, with your students. And there are moments where you have to react, of course. And we want to make sure that you have the tools and the resources to do that and to understand before you have to react, because of course, the best defense is a good offense. So some of the resources that Ira shared with you, and again in the QR code, and we'll follow up with, are there as reactive materials, or to have a plan in place and be able to have those rules and enforce them in the communication procedures beforehand. Translate Hate is a tool. It is a glossary. We are updating it all the time with different terms and tropes, again, so that people can be aware of it, so that you're attuned to it and know what it is if it happens. But there are proactive things that you can be doing as well. And when you're interacting with parents, particularly, to be able to be proactive and positive about things that you're doing, of course, is always something that we want to help you with. Some school districts have adopted the IRA, or International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, which is why we call it IRA, working definition of anti-Semitism. It is not legally binding. It is exactly that. It's a working definition of what anti-Semitism is.
Ugh.
And so I just want to let you know that that is something that you can proactively do, and we're happy to walk you through that. And then again, we're happy to provide Translate Hate to you. And the other thing I want to do is, you have been invited, and we're going to send you again a follow-up invitation to something that is a really exciting, groundbreaking, museum quality interactive experience that AJC is doing in partnership with Common Circles. This is Common Circles. We are partners with them, and this is being held at Rye Country Day School currently. And it is about reducing bias, understanding bias, understanding how we look at the world differently, celebrating the way that we look at the world differently, but understanding how to address racism, hatred, bias, address Holocaust education, interact. These are, there are avatars, interactive experiences, which is in partnership with the USC Show Off Foundation, and be able to be proactive. And we invite you as educators to come see it. And again, we'll stop here and be able to follow up with any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Myra and Ira, for really great information and tools. Without any further ado, also, I'm going to switch it right over to Michael Guri from the Holocaust and Human Rights Education Center.
Thank you, and thank you to the Jewish Council, Westchester Jewish Council, Elliot, Pam, and Tammy. Tammy, you put together a great program. This is one of the best organized Zooms I've ever been on, and I'm very proud to be on with Myra, Ira, particularly because they rhyme, and Elka and Stephanie. I'm the past chair of the Holocaust and Human Rights Education Center. We're located in White Plains. Probably most of the school districts have had some interaction with our organization, particularly through our high school and middle school student leader programs. Just a quick overview of what we do. We are education based. We're not a museum. We're located in White Plains. We also have a library, which should by the end of this year be part of the Westchester Library System. We have over, I guess, like 4,000 volumes of books about bias and the Holocaust and other human rights issues. And students will be able to go onto the Westchester Library System, get a book, and have it delivered to their local library wherever they happen to live. And it's also open for people to come in and study there at our office as well. We also do teacher development programs, which a lot of your districts may have been involved with, as well as other. And you can go on our website. Our website is hhrecny.org. But today, particularly, I want to talk about the presentations which we have available at schools. Um, we have about a half a dozen presentations that include visual panels as well as speakers and audio visual presentations that are perfect for large gatherings. And so let me see if I can successfully pull up our website here. Ignore that phone in the background. Okay. And I'm just going to quickly run through the programs that we do have available to come into schools. Um, and you'll go, and I wanted to bring it up on the website because you'll book it through the website. That's the best way to organize it for us. Oh, I just wanted to mention, I was listening to Ira and Myra, and I remember I went to Katona Lewisboro. That's where I grew up. And we didn't even have the Jewish holidays off when I was a kid. So I guess on some level, things have improved. So Cartoonists Against the Holocaust is a paneled program with or without a speaker. Let's see if I can pull up the other ones here. Here we go. Courage to Remember is also a paneled program that is actually a large one. This is 25 panels. And for instance, we do a program with the Harvey School over in, I guess that's Tarrytown, where they have these panels in the library, and then we have speakers in various classrooms telling stories. We have speakers, we have Holocaust speakers, and people like myself who are second generation who tell their family stories. And they run a wonderful program where we're embedded in classrooms, and the students come in and they hear our family stories, and then these panels are available in the library with some of our members to help people walk through them. And then we have individual stories, 13 driver's licenses. I know a lot of you have had this one in your schools already. Lisa Salco, who's one of the members of our speakers group. This is a personal story that the next three I'm going to tell you about are really personal stories, which really makes it very impactful. 13 Driver's License is a story about Lichtenfels, Germany, where they found in the back of some archive, in the back of some drawer, they found 13 driver's licenses that had been confiscated during World War II or just before World War II. And the students in this school, in this high school, decided to try to figure out what happened to these 13 people. And it's a very powerful and moving story. And one of the 13 people is actually Lisa's father, who survives the war. And it's wonderfully told, and that's a very powerful story. My personal favorite, because this is the one I do, um, my father's, it's about Agnes Kelly, who is the Jewish woman with the most Olympic medals. She won 10 Olympic medals for Hungary in women's gymnastics, survives the Holocaust, and she's my father's first cousin. So this is also a very personal story for myself. And I've told this in many places. In fact, I'm telling it next month at the Dobbs Ferry Library. So this is a very popular one as well. And there's another one which is not yet on our website, but is coming on soon. Another one of our speakers, Leah Sills, tells the story of De Sousa Mendes, who is a Portuguese diplomat who saved Jews in Europe. Very, very little known story, but a very powerful story. He was in France giving out. He was a lower level diplomat, and he was giving out visas to Jews without his government's direct permission. And that's also a very powerful, and that also comes with panels as well. So there's a visual element to that. And these can all be booked through our website. I'm not going to take up too much more time because I know there's a couple of other speakers here, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I just want to say that it gives me hope to see this kind of work done in the area of anti-Semitism. I mean, I will admit to having a kind of a different or warped view of this, having grown up in a house of Holocaust survivors. Nothing surprises me about anti-Semitism. I just think it's more visible now, but I know it's always been there. So this is important work, and I appreciate everybody being here today.
Thank you, Michael. And as Michael said, I know a number of school districts, some of whom are actually on the call today, have had a couple of these presentations and brought in families and had them available both for students to see and even for like community times for parents and students to come together. And we've heard some great feedback from them. So it's a nice option. Fantastic. So our next speaker is Elka Mednick from the Virginia Beach Holocaust Commission. One of the lovely things about doing this via Zoom is we're able to bring in people who might not otherwise have flown up to New York. I actually have a personal connection to the Virginia Beach Holocaust Commission because prior to moving to Westchester, my family and I lived in Hampton Roads in Norfolk, Virginia for 8 years and got to see the amazing work that the Virginia Beach Holocaust Commission does firsthand. So when I was thinking about ways that we could in Westchester do outreach to families, I thought about some of the work that I've seen them do. And Elka's going to share a little bit about that with you and ways that we could recreate some of that here in Westchester. The other reason we did it via Zoom is it makes it a little easier for some of our educators to come when they might not be able to otherwise. So, but I'm particularly excited that we were able to, zoom in across the East Coast from Virginia Beach to us here in Westchester. So Elka, turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you to the council for having me and the Holocaust Commission. And thank you to all of you educators and all of my fellow presenters for taking the time. I know it's a busy season for all of us. So the Holocaust Commission has a number of programs. We focus most of our time here locally, but we do have a lot of programs that travel well, as it were, both figuratively because they're digital, like podcasts, or they are like the program I'm going to share a bit about with you today that have physical items and a video that we can actually send to you to use in your classrooms and community spaces. So the mission of the Holocaust Commission is to contemporize the lessons of the Holocaust for people young and old, because we truly believe that those lessons can not only fight anti-Semitism, but can teach us all to fight bigotry and be an upstanding citizen, no matter where we are in life and no matter what we're facing. So the program I'm going to share with you today is called What We Carry. It's as I said, it's multimedia. So it is video of individual Holocaust survivors paired with artifacts that represent their journey that they had during the Holocaust and then immediately after. So I'm going to play a clip of one of our films for you right now, and then I'll talk a little bit more about it. So bear with me. I hope I do my audio right, my audio correctly, share sound.
My name is Dana Cohen. My maiden name was Danuta Siegel. I was born in Lwów, Poland, in the year of 1932. My father was a businessman. My mother was somewhat a lady of leisure. And we had a good life. Early 1939, my father came from a business trip from Holland and told my mother there are rumors of war and now probably will be mobilized. Germany invaded Poland in September 1939 from the west. Almost immediately after, Russians with their tanks came in from the east. My mother and myself left the apartment and went to our grandparents to hide in the cellars. We were bombed for about 3 to 4 weeks incessantly. And then when the sirens went off, we kids were allowed to go outside. We saw there's more distraction. This building went down, that building went down, almost next to us. And the whole cellar shook. And that was my first frightening experience. I was shaking, I couldn't eat for several days. It really got to me. When we were allowed outside, we saw Red Cross trucks driving up, people bleeding, taken out, and you sort of like mesmerized, you're staring at it. So when you close your eyes, you still see it. And it was the first experience as a kid, that there is such thing as bad things happening to people, death and destruction.
So that's just a little clip of one of our videos. We have 8 survivor videos. I should say, actually, we have 8 videos and suitcases on offer. 6 are survivors and 2 are soldiers, and 1 is a Righteous Among the Nations individual. And in addition to that, we have lesson plans that pair with each of these videos and suitcases, and there's a lot of flexibility with them. We cater to a 6th grade through adult audience, and the What We Carry program can be done in so many ways. A teacher could do it in the classroom. It can be as an all-school program in the auditorium, but it also can be a community event where you get parents and a multi-generational group together to watch the video, look at the artifacts, and really have a discussion about anti-Semitism then and the Holocaust and how it is manifesting today and how we can utilize those lessons. So that is the main program I will present to you today, but we also have other things that I will get to Tammy to make sure that you all have access to those as well. So I also want to keep it short, so thank you for having me. And I hope that we can serve you and your schools.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Elka. Great. And so last but certainly not least, we're going to be hearing from Stephanie Singer from ADL. And let's spotlight Stephanie. There we are. Excellent. Thank you, Stephanie. Take it away.
Thank you. And so nice to see you all, and thank you for joining. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. Thank you. Behind the scenes. There we go. All right. My name is Stephanie Singer. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the Lori M. Tisch Education Director for ADL's New York, New Jersey Regional Office. And it's a pleasure to share this space with so many great colleagues and Jewish community organizations. And so great to see you all here. So very briefly, who is ADL? So we're an over 200-year-old organization. We are a leading international anti-hate organization with a 2-part mission to stop the defamation of the Jewish people and to secure justice and fair treatment to all. There are 3 pillars that really drive the work we do at ADL: to protect, to investigate, and to educate. And I think for the purpose of our conversation around outreach to families today and how we can partner with you all, we're really going to focus on the protect piece and the educate piece. I do want to also share that currently ADL is partnered with 41 schools in Westchester County through our school-wide culture and climate program, No Place for Hate. So we love to see so much involvement and engagement from students and educators across Westchester. And we've been really growing our partnership and footprint in that region. So to frame our conversation on outreach to families, I want to start by sharing some of ADL's data around anti-Semitism in K-12 schools. I know we've sort of seen, really sort of the stark data that AJC shared around the climate of anti-Semitism nationally. And I just wanted to sort of zero in on that K-12 school space. So every year, ADL conducts an audit of anti-Semitic incidents across the US and regionally. So this reflects incidents of harassment, incidents of vandalism and assault against Jewish people and communities which are reported to our team. We look at overall data in the community, but then we specifically look at incidents reported to us from K-12 schools. So these might come through from parents, they may come to us from educators, students, and often school leaders. So in 2023, we tracked 1,162 incidents at non-Jewish K-12 schools across the United States. So just for perspective, that's a 135% increase over the 495 incidents we recorded in the previous year in 2022. As a sort of 10-year review, that's even more shocking. It's a 956% increase. The majority of those incidents were reported to us in the fourth quarter of 2023 after October 7th, which, I'm sure is not surprising. If we're to zoom in on New York, the trend is very similar. It sort of mirrors the national data. We reported 173 incidents in non-Jewish K-12 schools in New York. This was a 226% increase over the 53 recorded in the previous year. And these included incidents of harassment, so anti-Jewish slurs, threats against Jewish students, vandalism, swastikas in public spaces, anti-Jewish graffiti, and assault, the highest number being incidents of vandalism followed by harassment. We saw many instances of Jewish students being targeted because of the conflict between Israel and Hamas. We saw genocide and Holocaust-related jokes, and though not reflected here, and I know something that was mentioned by Ira and Myra, many Jewish students fearful to show their identity. And this is a 652% increase over the last 10 years. So these numbers really do sort of paint the picture for us in terms of what is happening in K-12 schools over the last year. So it's also worth noting that the increase in incidents is reflected not only in reported incident data, but also in the concern about the widespread nature of anti-Semitism. So in October 2024, the ADL Center for Anti-Semitism Research, or CAR, conducted a survey of 817 American adults. So from this survey, more than 1 in 5 adults indicated that they thought anti-Jewish prejudice was very or extremely problematic in their school district. So that's really specific, right? In their school district, that's the level of concern adults have around anti-Jewish prejudice. Jewish respondents were even more likely to be concerned, with more than 40% saying the same, with Jewish parents exhibiting obviously the highest level of concerns. Contrary to sort of the common perception that older and more conservative Jewish adults are concerned around anti-Semitism or see that as a significant issue, what this data tells us is that Jewish parents of K-12 children are significantly more likely to hold this concern. 71% of Jewish parents reported that their child encountered anti-Semitism in the classroom, and 37% of non-Jewish parents reported the same. And then very briefly, there is a strong correlation between access to anti-Semitism education, Holocaust education, and the ability to recognize anti-Semitic incidents. So parents whose children did not have access to anti-Semitism education were 46% less likely to report awareness of anti-Semitic bias on the school campus. Positively speaking, 89% of Americans support K-12 Holocaust education, and 84% of Americans support anti-Semitism education. However, there's a real gap because only 21% and 30% respectively of parents have reported that their child received anti-Semitism and Holocaust education. So we know education is a critical piece of this, right? And being able to not only learn about, but be able to even identify when anti-Semitism is happening and report it. So knowing this is an issue and a concern for Jewish and non-Jewish parents, how can we at ADL support you as school leaders to engage in outreach to parents and caregivers? That's really what we want to focus on this morning. The first thing that I want to just mention is we want to encourage reporting. If a student is comfortable to report, we want to make sure that parents feel safe to discuss incidents of anti-Semitism with school-based staff. So how can you create sort of a culture of safety and a sense of, responsiveness so that parents feel like when something happens, they can come to school-based staff and there will be a response. We want to make sure that parents understand reporting mechanisms. We found that oftentimes parents don't know how to get in touch. What is the way that they report when something has happened? What are the procedures for following up? What level of transparency can they expect? What is FERPA and why can't we share certain things with parents and caregivers? We found that it's important for parents to hear from school leadership with transparency. So, that we know you can't always share everything with parents and caregivers in the aftermath of an incident because we have to protect the identities of students, but just hearing from school leaders in the aftermath conveys a message of support, it builds trust, and it helps parents and caregivers feel like some action is being taken. We want to make sure that parents are aware of staff support to address incidents of anti-Semitism and bias. So what training is happening, what resources are being provided, and what educational response is in place. And finally, we encourage you to encourage parents to partner with ADL by reporting incidents. It's not about, making the school look bad or, pointing out something that isn't happening in other school communities. It's about giving parents access to resources so that they can have private and safe conversations about the impact and have a thought partner in approaching you as school leaders. So next, what I want to just talk about is some strategies that we can provide to help parents advocate effectively for their students. So we know when parents and caregivers, approach us when there's been an incident, they don't always have the tools to address these issues proactively with you as school leaders. So tools like our Championing Change Toolkit really give parents and caregivers the language to have effective and supportive conversations, not only with their child in the aftermath of an incident, but also to have productive conversations with teachers. We want to make sure that we're setting parents and caregivers up for success when they come to us around an incident. So we strongly encourage you to proactively share these resources with parents and families because it really demonstrates partnership, it really builds trusts, and allows parents and caregivers to know that you want them to be well equipped in having those conversations with you. We also suggest that you proactively share resources that support parents and caregivers to navigate challenging conversations. So, we know students are observing a lot. Students are experiencing a lot in school. They're coming home. They're bringing, either incidents that they've been the target of or things that they have witnessed, global events that are happening around them. So one of the ways we found that school leaders can be a real asset and resource to parents and caregivers is by giving them tools to extend those conversations into the home environment. So ADL provides table talks, tools, and strategies. These are all on our website for free that are very easy to share with parents and families. And they cover topics like what is online hate and harassment, empowering young people in the aftermath of hate, and then our latest toolkit, Conversations That Matter, which gives parents and caregivers sort of the perspective on the mental health impacts of anti-Semitism and other forms of bias and how they can help offset that in the home environment through productive conversations and supportive actions. And then finally, I think, we've mentioned this before, acknowledging and celebrating Jewish identity and sharing these resources with parents and families and the school community. It shows a commitment to inclusion. It communicates to parents that learning about Jewish people and their culture and history are equally important to addressing acts of anti-Jewish harm. We want to kind of hold those things respectively and in balance. And to that end, ADL offers a collection of books. We have a section of our education website called Books Matter that includes books that celebrate Jewish identity and diversity that you can share with parents and caregivers to enrich their learning at home. This library doesn't just include books on Jewish identity and diversity, but it includes a whole catalog of books to address topics of identity, diversity, inclusion, bullying, bias, many of which come with guides for having conversations at home for parents. And then last, but certainly not least, engage with parents and caregivers around Jewish American Heritage Month, include families in the planning and participation in activities and events. That's a great way to build that trust, build those relationships so that when incidents happen, that's already sort of built in, that's already there, and there's a sense of that safety to come and approach you around something that's happened in the school community. That is it. I thank you. I just want you to see us as a partner in supporting you when there are incidents of bias in your school community. Utilize us for any educational tools and resources. And I'm going to turn it over, I think, back to Tammy.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, there were some amazing resources presented and a variety of them. And I hope that you'll make use of these. I hope that you will reach out to these experts who have spoken this morning. I would summarize this as that there are resources to support parents when they are questioning or seeing an incident or just wondering what to do in this environment. There are ways that you can have dynamic presentations that can be in your school space that you can invite parents and communities into to be a part of with your students. And there's materials that you can proactively share out to parents to show that you are thinking about it, that you are caring about their experience and their children's experience in the school. As you saw from the data, there's some concerns out there, valid concerns that you can help proactively try to lessen and alleviate. So with that, I want to pause for questions before we sort of talk about any next steps for this organization and for the sessions we're doing. So you can either put questions into the chat or you can just unmute yourself and ask them.
Tammy, not so much a question, just sort of a big thanks to the presenters. And, I think one of the things that's really important for all of us to be talking about, if there's one child who's suffering, we have a problem. And using plain language and addressing these situations immediately and publicly and in partnership with many of, we work very closely with ADL, so thanks again for that. That's really important. And that goes a long way to bringing a level of recognition that it is never going to be okay. It's not funny. It's not a mistake. It's not, I was just joking. There are no free passes when it comes to anti-Semitism, hate, bullying. We have to make sure that we are teaching our children from a very, really the earliest age, as early as we can, that we must respect, we must treat each other properly at all times. And, I get it. There are times where we're reticent to discuss these types of situations because we fear, that there are things that might happen. We can't. When they happen, we have to name them. We have to name them publicly. We have to elicit and solicit the support of parents, guardians, and community, and really come together like we're doing now to support everybody, because this is a collective forever issue. And that's the thing. Like, I didn't raise my hand at the beginning, Ira, because unfortunately, I'm not surprised. Just like I'm not surprised that racism still exists, or that classism still exists, or that sexism exists, or you name it, and that is unfortunate, but we have to keep doing this work. And so thanks to everybody. And these resources that are available are fantastic. I cannot recommend Common Circles strongly enough. They started here with us in White Plains. It was and continues to be so powerful. Just a couple weeks ago, I went over to visit because I wanted to see the rye installation. And by the way, the ladies are fabulous. It is profound. Everybody should see it. It should be in every school district across America. It speaks to othering and the danger of othering and how it really is a human problem. It's a scourge, and we all need to continue to speak about it so that everybody remembers. And thanks again.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to follow up that, Myra, I believe that there is, of course, other times that superintendents and school leaders could go, but I believe April 6th is the reserve.
April 3rd.
Okay, thank you.
And there are other dates as well, and we'll follow up with the invitation again. You should have received it, but we'll follow up again through Tammy
Yes,
course.
perfect. One of the materials that you'll get when following this will be another reminder and a quick link so that if you don't know where it is in your email, you'll have it easily accessible to sign up to come to see that. Perfect. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Rika. Does anyone else have a question or comment? Okay. If you think of one, you can always reach out. So here's what I just want to say. Of course, again, thank you all of you for coming and spending the time with us this morning on this really important topic. You will receive from this email, after this call, an email from me with materials that our presenters want to share with you. And also know that there is a recording of this wonderful set of presentations. So if you have someone in your district who was unable to attend that you would like to share the recording with, I will have that available for you as well. I really hope you do reach out to these experts to, if you've heard anything today that you think will be useful for your district. I know all of them would be happy to help you and hear from you. We will be also, you can always reach out to me. Not that I am a subject matter expert. That is why I bring in these amazing people. But I am here to help direct you to the right people. And what we also want to know is what else would be helpful for us to help organize for you to bring resources to you. We view our role in this space as trying to help you who are managing so many things have an easy access to the resources you need to address anti-Semitism and other forms of hate. So if there is an issue that you are encountering that you would like help finding out more about, let us know and we will help organize that for you. We're hoping to continue this work next year. And so we're thinking ahead about what kinds of things we want to be able to bring to all of you and the school leadership in Westchester County. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. One of the things that my colleagues and I can definitely do is if you send us the link to the recording as well as the link to the available services and resources, we can share them with all the superintendents in the Lower Hudson Council.
Great.
And so that, might be another way to get that message out to.
I will do that. Thank you.
Awesome.
The last thing is, two more things. We've got the fourth session of this series. There were a 4-part series this school year. The fourth session is coming up in person back at the Greenberg Public Library Tuesday, May 6th. Starting at 8:30 to 10 a.m. There will be breakfast, so I will feed you this time. And this is going to be a best practices showcase. I have already a number of schools, some of whom are already represented on this call, who have agreed to share experiences that they've had with you, their colleagues, so that we can learn from each other. We have these amazing experts and resources, and they have been fantastic. But I think there's also a great opportunity to learn from each other and hear what you're doing, even though your school districts might differ from each other. So we're going to be getting a chance to hear from each other and do a little interactive work together as well at that one. Last but not least, you heard about Jewish American Heritage Month a couple times from our presenters. It is May. One of the things we hope is that we will have the opportunity to celebrate, not just be reacting to possible negatives, but to celebrate the Jewish American experience. There may be lots of ways you're already planning to do that. I wanted to let you know we have a really exciting opportunity. As part of our grant, we are bringing in a speaker. I'm actually going to share my screen to show you his website. Okay, let's see. Oh, wait, this one. Hold on. This is the one I want you to see. Can you guys see the Kendall Pinckney one? Great. So this is Kendall Pinckney. He is a playwright, producer, and a rabbi, which I just think is an amazing combination of things. He comes in, he does a monologue that he's written. It's really engaging. I've spoken to a couple schools who have had Kendall there, and he really speaks about this intersection of identity and narrative. So we have this speaker available for Jewish American Heritage Month. He's going to be speaking in a couple of schools. I have a few who heard about it and already raised their hands. If you would like to be one of the schools that possibly has Kendall there as an assembly, I'd be very happy to hear from you. And then we can organize. He'll probably come in a couple times in May, and we're going to organize schools that want to be a part of it. We'll probably have 2 or 3 schools in a day. So again, it's really ideally middle school and high school age, really even more high school than middle school, although he can do middle school. We're working with one school, probably aim towards like 8th grade and up, the more mature of the middle school students. But that is an opportunity that's available. Again, no charge to you. We will organize it. We will work with you to find the date to bring in the speaker who's going to be able to be dynamic and engaging and presenting a positive and interesting look into Jewish American identity. Okay. And at that, it is exactly 10:30. And so if anyone has anything, I will stay on the Zoom for a moment. Otherwise, I say thank you very much and have a great rest of your day.
Great job.
Thank you.